Have you ever wondered why certain patterns seem to repeat from one generation to the next? Perhaps anxiety runs in your family. Maybe emotional suppression was considered normal. Maybe every woman in your family seemed exhausted, hyper independent, or constantly taking care of everyone else. Many people assume these are simply personality traits or family traditions, but psychology and trauma research suggests something different. Today, we're talking about generational trauma, what it is, how it develops, what research tells us about its impact on Black women, and most importantly, why understanding it can become one of the first steps toward healing. As always, this conversation is educational and is not intended to blame families or suggest that every Black woman has experienced trauma. Rather, we'll explore how historical, cultural, family, and biological factors can interact across generations. In psychology, generational trauma, sometimes called intergenerational, refers to the transmission of traumatic stress and its effects from one generation to another. Researchers believe this transmission can occur through several pathways. One being learned behaviors. We can look at this as children who learn by observing. If caregivers respond to stress with hypervigilance, emotional suppression, people-pleasing, or distrust, children often internalize these behaviors as normal. They become adaptive survival strategies. 2. Family belief systems. Families often pass down messages such as we don't talk about our feelings, don't trust people, work twice as hard, never show weakness, always put family first, and keep your business inside this house. Some of these messages developed because they genuinely helped previous generations to survive. The challenge is that survival strategies are not always healing strategies. 3. Chronic stress in the nervous system. Trauma also affects the nervous system. When someone experiences chronic adversity, their brain and body become more efficient at detecting danger. This is called hypervigilance. Children raised in chronically stressed environments may grow up believing that constant alertness is simply normal. Instead of asking, "Am I safe?" their nervous system continually asks, "What danger am I missing?" And 4, emerging biological research. Scientists are also studying epigenetics, which explores how chronic stress may influence gene expression across generations. It's important to clarify that trauma does not change DNA itself. Instead, researchers are investigating whether severe and prolonged stress can affect how certain genes are turned on or off. While this field continues to evolve, it offers one possible explanation for why trauma's effects sometimes appear across generations. When discussing generational trauma among Black women, it's important to consider history alongside individual experiences. Black women have navigated generations of enslavement and its legacy, segregation, racial discrimination, healthcare inequities, economic inequality, gender racism, community violence, chronic stress associated with systemic inequities. None of these experiences automatically result in trauma. However, repeated exposure to chronic stress increases the likelihood of trauma-related adaptations. Research also shows that Black women experience higher levels of allostatic load, which refers to the cumulative wear and tear on the body caused by chronic stress. Over time, this can contribute to higher rates of hypertension, cardiovascular disease, anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances, and other stress-related conditions. This is one reason mental health cannot be separated from physical health. One of the biggest misconceptions about trauma is that it always looks dramatic. Clinically, trauma often presents as adaptations that once protected someone. Examples could include hyper-independence, where you may believe that you have to do everything yourself. Perfectionism, if I make one mistake, something bad will happen, might be a thought. And then people-pleasing, if everyone else is okay, maybe I'll be safe. Difficulty resting is another one, where one might believe that if they stop moving, that they will fall behind. And then difficulty trusting, if I depend on people, I will be hurt. Emotional suppression is another piece, where one might feel that their emotions aren't important. Notice that none of these behaviors develop because someone is broken. They often develop because they once increased safety. One concept discussed frequently in research is the strong Black woman schema. Researchers describe it as a cultural expectation that Black women should be emotionally strong, self-sacrificing, independent, resilient regardless of the circumstances. And while resilience is valuable, problems arise when strength becomes an obligation rather than a choice. Studies have linked this schema with delayed help seeking, chronic stress, emotional suppression, anxiety, depressive symptoms, and caregiver burnout. Strength is not unhealthy. Feeling that you were never allowed to be anything else is. Healing generational trauma doesn't mean rejecting your family. It means understanding the difference between inherited survival strategies and intentional healing practices. Healing may involve developing emotional awareness, learning nervous system regulation, building secure relationships, processing grief, setting healthy boundaries, practicing self-compassion, receiving support, and engaging in culturally responsive therapy. One of the questions I often encourage clients to ask themselves is, does this belief help me survive, or does it help me thrive? Sometimes those answers are different. If there's one thing I hope that you take away from today's video, it's this: that generational trauma is not about assigning blame. It is about increasing understanding. Many families passed down the tools they needed to survive the environments they lived in. Today, we have the opportunity to honor their resilience while also creating new patterns grounded in emotional safety, connection, and healing. That doesn't erase what came before us, but it allows us to write a different chapter for ourselves and for the generations that also follow. If you found this video helpful, let me know in the comments. What was one idea today that changed the way you think about generational trauma? If you're interested in trauma-informed healing, the Softness Framework was created to help Black women move beyond survival and reconnect with safety, self-compassion, and emotional regulation. And future videos will explore each pillar and how they can support your nervous system in healing.